What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video we're going to be doing a couple projects on the Longer Nano 6-watt. Both of these projects are going to start out as a 6-inch by 6-inch basswood square, so I will leave a link to these below. They're very handy for the Nano. Obviously you're not going to be cutting out any big sheets of wood on this little guy, so these are going to come in super handy, and that's what we are going to be starting with today. Both of these projects are going to solve a bit of an issue with the Nano. One is going to be a cutting grid that's just helpful for lining things up when you go to engrave them. The other one is going to be almost like a honeycombs, kind of a DIY honeycomb. If you cut anything on this work surface here, you're going to stain it pretty badly. You don't want to do that. It's going to make your Nano look kind of ugly. So this will help you if you have a honeycomb on the way or you don't feel like spending the money on a honeycomb. You can make your own using the Nano itself. So we're going to start out with the alignment grid. This file is actually two files. This is the first one you will do. This is going to be the mounting holes for the grid. So all you need to do, take out your middle plate. As I said, that's going to stain pretty badly if you cut on it. We're going to take the 6-inch by 6-inch square and just line it up right down the center using these two holes for alignment. Your back one should just be at the top of that threaded hole, and this should be basically what you're looking at, and you're ready to go ahead and hit start. Now, as long as you've lined it up generally close, you'll move this right over here. These holes will line up nicely on the outside of the bed, and you can go ahead and anchor this down to the Nano. So now we have our piece of wood mounted. It's not going anywhere. It's pretty square to the base of the Nano. You can go ahead and put your smoke extractor on, and you'll see why I chose that location. If you use the holes along the front, they interfere with the guard here, and this actually sits right down on the thumb screws. So I chose to use the right side of the mounting holes just so the shield would not interfere with the little hand screws. So now you can go ahead and open up the second half of the file, which is the alignment grid itself. I've got everything ready to go. Smoke extractor is on. I went ahead and cut these bolt holes without it just because it's a quick, easy cut. This one's going to take a little bit longer, so I am taking the smoke out of the garage. Okay, and just like that, we have a nice alignment grid. It is very reusable. You will always have it in the right spot if you use those same two mounting holes every time. It did have a little bit of distortion down here in the bottom left corner on that number 10, so I think that's just because the Nano is kind of at its furthest reach at that point. It can't go any further than that. Not entirely sure why, but I just want to show you how accurate it is. I have a little piece sitting right here on the grid. I have it set up in light burn. I'm going to go ahead and hit start. And if we come in nice and close, it's a little tiny smiley face. Okay, our next project is going to be the cutting grid. I've got everything ready in light burn. You obviously don't have a honeycomb if you're making one of these at this moment, so I've just put a piece of scrap wood down, and I'm going to set our wood on two pieces of steel. These are just drill bits, just to keep it up off of the bed of the Nano. I don't want to get any of that wood staining and charring on the aluminum, so you can go ahead and set that on there, and that should cut just fine. So we're all ready to cut. Over here on the file, you're going to see there's two layers. These outermost layers I've done in blue. They just include an extra pass on the cut. The Nano does struggle a little bit out here at the corners to get all the way through the material, so that's the reason for the extra layer there. So we're going to go ahead and hit start and see how this one turns out. Okay, so here we are all set and done. Let's take a look at how it came out. Pretty good. This is what I was talking about down here at the corners. The beam is just not as strong, so I'm going to have to help this one out a little bit. Other than that, these ones all came out pretty good. That is the burning and charring that I did not want on the plate of the Nano, so definitely make sure you put some scrap down there if you're going to be cutting on this thing without a honeycomb. Okay, so these are pretty easy to pop together. It's pretty self-explanatory, and after you're all said and done, you should be left with something like this. So, turned out pretty good. There was a little bit of an issue here. This was the corner. It didn't cut all the way through. I had to help that out with a knife. So, yeah, I might adjust the settings a little bit for the final file. It's a little funny how the Nano cuts. You have to get used to it because everything cuts on a bit of an edge. If it's outside towards the outer edge of the work surface, the beam is at such an angle that it does leave a bit of an angled cut. So definitely something you have to account for, something to get used to on a galvo laser like this. Definitely a little bit different than the Ray5 and a typical gantry style laser. So that fits in there. You can go ahead and cut on that without having to worry about marking up your plate. This will obviously take damage over time. It's kind of a sacrificial piece, so you will have to remake this at some point once it gets all chopped up, but it's pretty straightforward and easy to do. And just to show you how it works, we'll see what type of cut we can get here, what kind of damage is done to the honeycomb. I'm going to go ahead and just cut another little smiley face out of this scrap piece and see how it looks. So as you can see, it does go right through and do a little bit of damage to the sideways runners here, but that would take a long time to actually cut through something like that and do enough damage to make it unusable. Like I said, you will have to remake it eventually, but overall, I think it is a nice upgrade over scratching up and charring up this plate. I think this alignment grid is going to be my favorite when it comes to doing business cards. This thing is going to be pretty helpful. I have roughly the shape of the card laid out here in Lightburn. I'm going to go ahead and hit frame. As you can see, the laser beam hugs right on the edge of the card. It just makes it really easy to duplicate if you're making a lot of these cards or something similar. This just helps you get it in the same spot every time. This can obviously be trimmed down to size if you don't like the oversized look of it, but I don't mind it overall. I think it's going to be just fine. So if you like these projects, I will have them on my Etsy store linked down below, as well as these 6x6 sheets from Amazon. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time.